Hi, I'm Matt Quoker. Think about this. In 150 years, every single person on the face of the planet will no longer be here. They'll pass away and die. My name's Matt Quoker. I'm here to ask people like you and me the questions they've always wanted to ask about death. It's raining, so we better head on inside to see what people have to say. Thanks, boys, for coming. We've got Aldo and Joe.
Yep.
Really excited to have you both here. It's not often I get to speak with people who have come from another country, because you were both born in Italy, is that correct?
Correct.
And how old were you when you came to Australia, Aldo?
I was 29 years old.
29. Joe?
20?
20. And were you both, what year were you born?
1940.
1940.
Same.
Oh, twins in the year that you were born. Okay, so same parts of Italy or different parts?
Different parts. I'm from Rome.
Yeah, and
I'm from Abruzzi.
Abruzzi. Okay, and you, so you both came, what, if you don't mind me asking, what brought you to Australia?
Opportunity, job opportunity, and better life.
Better life. Joe, for you?
Yeah, the same.
The same.
Job opportunities.
Job opportunities, right. So being Italian, we're going to go and have a glass of wine. Okay, so we've got to have this opportunity to, because we know the Italians love the wine, don't they?
Of course.
They do. Do you make your own wine?
Never say not to a good wine.
To a good wine. Do you make your own wine?
I used to, not anymore. I only drink Penfolds.
You only drink Penfolds. Well, you see, that's why I've got that here for you, mate. See? Cheers, boys. Cheers.
Cheers.
Now, the whole thing is, I want to find, being born in Italy, did you ever discuss death as children with your family, or did you experience death in Italy with any family members?
I had some experience, not immediate family, but close family.
Right.
But being young, and that's discuss about the funeral or death, it's not on.
You don't talk
and
about
nobody wants to talk about nobody wants to talk about funeral or death or dying.
And Joe, was that the same for you and your family?
Same for you. I never seen anybody
really
dead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My mother died when I was a small one, a baby.
Right.
But when I didn't see anybody die in Italy,
mm-hmm.
and until late, when my sister died here, I never talked about death.
Really?
But
Me started first with my mother, then my father, then my brother, and recently my wife.
So if you don't mind me asking, Aldo, how long ago did you lose your wife?
It's just a go over 5 years now.
5 years. And did you and her ever discuss what was to happen or not?
As I say, I would like it. That time before my wife passed away, I would like to have a discussion in regard. But be honest, me and my wife we always did talk about passing.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife, she always maintained, she said, when I die, I wish not to be buried,
mm-hmm.
but I want to be cremated.
Wow. Okay. So in my experience, Italians traditionally get the buried. So
Get the burials, yes.
So your wife was cremated.
My wife was cremated.
Fantastic.
Because obviously that was their wish, and it's
Yes.
always she said, I want to be cremated,
Mm-hmm.
and the ashes, I wanted the ashes scattered around Watson Bay. She was in love with the Watson Bay.
Beautiful.
And me, I got along with my wife. I said to my kids, when it's by time it's coming, I want it exactly the same as it's done for mom. If you do it like I want, ashes with the mom got scattered to Watson Bay.
Well, funnily enough, I actually did I saw a family a few years ago, and the husband, he was from Italy, and in the town there was the hardware store and the soldiers' barracks that had the telephone. Mm-hmm. And he sat in the soldiers' barracks and rang the hardware store, the post office, and he met the woman. And they were speaking, got the affair over the phone, talking to the girl and the boy. And he said, I meet you in this alleyway, and you wear a rose. And he said to me when I was doing the funeral arrangements, if she was ugly, I would have kept on going because she was wearing the rose, right? So what? Yeah. And they met in this alleyway in Italy, right? Then what happened was, he said, I want her cremated. And he goes, because what's happening is, I'm going back to Italy, and I'm going to put a little bit of her ashes in the alleyway where we met.
Right.
And with that, he said, we then met, we got married, because I came to Australia first. She then got permission from her parents to come to Australia after they got married, had the children. But with her, she got cremated, and a lot of the family was saying, why do you want cremation?
Exactly.
But then, as I said to him, the Catholic Church approved cremation now. So, you know, it's not as if years ago it was a sin to be cremated. Joe, with you, what are your wishes? Were you looking for cremation or burial?
Definitely, yeah. I've been thinking about this very seriously.
Yeah.
And I said to my wife a few times, and at first she was saying, no, don't say that, don't. But now I think she's sort of come around. I think she started to go easy down a little bit.
On the
but
cremation.
definitely I'm going to be cremated.
Do you want any of your ashes taken back to Italy or not?
Oh, not really, no, because I came here I've left that behind. Italy. I've been back a few times and I enjoy when I go there. But
Your home's here.
yeah, my home is here, so. But definitely, I like to talk about that. But as I said,
See, and this is what I find, a lot of people, Europeans, don't know because they don't talk about death, what happens when someone dies, what to do, you know, like what happens to my loved one, you know, and all these things, and automatically you're faced with it. And see, because of the war, a lot of the older Europeans, they don't have things like birth certificates. The information of their parents is lost, and that's information that we need for the official death certificate. We need, you know, it asks what is the deceased parent's name, and I've had like a lot of children of people that have migrated from overseas, and they said, I don't know, mum and dad never talked about their parents because it was the war, or, you know, that we don't have any paperwork on we don't know what my father's mother's maiden name was, you know?
True.
And this is information that needs to be gathered.
Yes.
You know, we've even had information with dates of birth are wrong, you know?
But what gets me is that a lot of Italians, I was born in Italy, and they want to be put in a box there.
The crypt,
and to take the flower there. But I mean, after 2 or 3 years, nobody's going to see them anyhow. So I mean, what's the point? What I'm saying is
It's tradition, Joe.
What is the... That is, to me, I'm going to make sure that I've got to write it somewhere and make sure that my wish gets triggered.
It's, you know, it's with Italians, and again, I'm not generalising, you know, we had an Italian family in not so long ago, and they picked a beautiful coffin that was worth thousands of dollars. And I said to the daughter and the son, I said, this is a beautiful coffin, you know, it had Jesus and Mary, it's beautiful. And I said, casket, and I said, you know, what's something you've always wanted? And the daughter looked at me and she goes, she goes, I don't know, because of course Italians grieve, all Europeans grieve. And I said to the son, I said, what do you want? Because I've always wanted a nice watch. And the daughter said, I've always wanted a nice bangle. I said, well, instead of buying that coffin for this price, buy this one. And you buy yourself the watch, and you buy yourself the bracelet with the money you're saving, but mum deserved the best. I said, but do you think your mum would rather you have a beautiful bracelet and watch as a last gift from her to you?
Good thought.
Or a nice coffin?
Good. That is really good.
And I said, every time you tell the time,
Exactly.
your mum gave that to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And see, with Italians and a lot of Europeans, it's this whole mantra of the big crypt, the big vault, the big headstone, you know, buried. It's a personal choice, don't you think?
It is personal choice, yeah. It's not necessary, it's not needed, just personal choice.
Yeah.
To me, again, like I mentioned before, my wife, she's been cremated, and she's with me every day.
Beautiful.
I got him in her room. She had a room. She's there. She's got a father. She got flowers every day.
Beautiful.
And every
you can
morning,
talk to her.
Every morning when I get up, I say, good morning.
Good.
Name Amelia. Good morning, Amelia. How are you today? And when I got something I want to talk about, I want to discuss, or what I want to do during the day, I go there and talk to her.
And that is such an amazing thing to do, Aldo.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I never thought about that, the sort of that aspect, the sort of why. Again, like you mentioned before, a lot of people, they get horrified that my wife, she's cremated. And then again, all my kids, they want to come around. I'm by myself. Well, they want to
Yeah.
come around. And as soon as they come around, the first things they do, they can
Say
say
respect to
hello
their
to
mother.
the
Yeah,
mother.
exactly.
Yes.
And see, what we even had recently, that a family came back with the mother, and we had the father's ashes, and they said they loved each other in life. Can you mix both their ashes together?
Yeah, exactly. That's
So we
what I
got
want
half
to do.
the ashes from the mother's urn, half the ashes, and we put them to mix them together.
Yeah.
And then one of the sons said, "Oh, now Mum can yell at him all the time
That's-
and tell him off." You know.
Yes.
So like the whole thing is. So when you went for the cremation, did many of the Italian community say, "What are you doing? Why aren't you
That's
getting
how
buried?"
did they respond from many people, which I know. How did they respond? I had a good friend that used to be in the house all the time, and guess what? Since then, they don't come in the house
Isn't
because
that funny?
they're scared. I don't know why they're scared. The idea, my wife, if she's there, they don't come in, and that's ridiculous.
It is, and you know, Aldo, the most important thing is you feel her close to you. You've got her there. That if you want to give her a hug, you can give her a hug. If you want to talk to her, you can talk to her. And then you know what? When your time comes in many years' time, you say your choices, and then you go together.
Exactly. That's what exactly I explained to my kids. When my time is coming, I want the ashes get together, and then it's up to you. Mom and me, the wish was to be Watson by, but if you want to do like I did, keep yourself in the house. It's up to you. But
Well, see, what we did with my grandmother. She was cremated. You can get little plastic containers in the plant. Put a little bit in the plant. Give each child a plant, and then they can talk to you in the plant. The rest go to Watson's Bay. You
That's
know?
it,
So
yeah.
Oh, that-
yeah. So you know,
You give me an idea.
Yeah.
now,
So you can have jewelry
because-
as well.
Yes.
There's lots of things you can do. You know,
because
but
I was thinking about that. Where is got to go my ashes?
Yeah.
I'm thinking all the time to choose a place.
yeah, you don't necessarily have to
that
choose.
now you give me an idea.
Yeah, well, Joe, we had one family that they put the ashes in the backyard in a container, so when they move, they pick the container up and go with them. You know, so that's an option as well.
Exactly.
You know, but see, if that helps you, and traditionally cremation isn't a Italian
no.
way to go, and it's great that, and I've witnessed it too with this family that I did the service for. He said, "But I want to take my wife back to where we met." And then when I go, my
that
daughter's
was-
taking me
that
back to
was-
where we
That's,
met.
that's a give you opportunity
You know,
to
that
do
was
that.
beautiful.
Yes.
Whereas to take, especially now during COVID, if someone passes away now and they want the whole body taken back to Italy, which some people do, it's getting a flight, it's the pricing, you know, so it's called a repatriation when you send someone overseas, and it happens, you know.
It happens.
But it's a personal choice. But see, I feel the Italians especially don't talk about death, and also the burying's very important. See, some Orthodox religions, they actually wash their hands and wash their shoes before, when they come home from the funeral, because they think that the angel of death is following them home.
Oh,
So they wash the death off their feet and hands, and you know. But it's tradition. When you're grieving, you listen to people's comments. You listen, especially the European community. Everyone's got something to say, haven't they?
Yes.
They gossip.
They're good. The guys, and you know, why are you doing this? It's no one else's decision except for you. We even had a family that they got an ink fingerprint of the wife, and he said she always held my hand when we went to bed. So now I can put my hand on the piece of paper next to me in the bed.
What a beautiful idea.
You know, but that's what he did, and you know, but that's why things are changing now. And that's
Yes.
why it's great that gentlemen like you, you know, and you've experienced Aldo, where you've gone, you know what, I'm not going with the whole traditional, because funerals now are different. It's a change of pace. When like with your wife's passing, and your siblings passing, so your brothers and sisters, did many, within your instance, Joe, did many of your family ask you for your advice, or did you leave them to make their own decisions?
Well, with my sister, they had no much choice. She was sick, and they had already the grave, but because of the sickness she had, she couldn't. They had to cremate.
They had to
She's
cremate,
been
right.
cremated.
So they could not.
Bury.
So that was not much of discussion. That was.
And see, that's a very valid point, Joe, because if someone does have certain illnesses,
Yes.
they may not be permitted to be buried. They have to be cremated.
had
And
to
if
be-
it
that
goes
one-
against
that was
religious...
one, but she would not be cremated if it was not for the.
Yes,
the
she would have been
sickness, so
buried.
she had buried.
Because see, the interesting thing is now, with you two being cremated. So let's just say your parents were buried, right? What you can do now is whoever owns that grave can give. If you're cremated, you can get your ashes put in and buried with that grave.
That's right.
So that's why now with some Italians or some Europeans, that's what they're doing. They're going. I'm saying technically, you're still being buried.
I come in Australia and I learned so much in different cultures. And I've been lucky and I come to my own decision, which I like it very much.
Yeah.
I like it very much. And I suggested to everyone, if I come into the discussion regarding death and funeral, I tell them my view. I don't impose them why it's got to be done. I tell them my feeling, the reason why I did, the way I feel, and I guess the good things I did. I never regret. I never regret. It's such a comfort to know it's my wife is there. It's like she never left.
Yes.
She's always there. In the whole room which she was used every day, she's there. The photos there.
Yep.
So when I go there, I feel so comfortable. Talk to her.
It's your happy space.
And, yes.
You feel close.
Yes,
You feel
yes.
close. And Joe, for you in Italy when you were little.
In Italy, you just remind me something.
Yeah.
When I was because I was very young, and because I left, as I said, I left the village where I lived at 16.
Right.
So before that, if I see someone die, the children are not supposed to come around it.
Really?
Because it was a bit scary.
Ah.
You don't get a child and
Yeah.
have a look at the dead person. You know what I
Viewing,
mean?
yeah.
So you'll have to. So I was behind, and people come and gossip and crying about around the.
Did you understand? Did you understand what was going on?
No, I mean, when you're that young, you don't think that you got to die. I mean, this death is happening only to old people, and I don't get old.
Do you two have any questions for me? Aldo, nothing, any questions? Or?
I haven't got any question coming to my mind, but I must say I really appreciated the open discussion you gave me this opportunity to talk about death and funeral, and I hope that this is going to get better and better in the future for everyone.
Well, see, for people looking at this, getting a different standpoint, like, because I have dealt with that. People don't get, Italians don't get cremated, Macedonians don't get cremated, Serbians don't get cremated. We all get buried. But time's changing, and hopefully people will see this and watch this and go, wow, here are two gentlemen who are traditionally Italian, gentlemen who have had their families. They were born in a very traditional time, still in a very traditional culture,
yes.
who were stepping outside that normal square of the normal, being different, which is great.
Yes.
And that's and that's the thing. Hopefully people see and go, you know what? I'm Italian, and why spend $40,000 on a grave or $100,000 on a crypt?
Actually, I've got a question.
Oh, here we go. What is it?
I wrote it down, otherwise I would have forgotten. Cremation, I want to ask how they do it, because I didn't have the experience. It's one at a time they do it, or they do a few at a time?
Well, the process is with the cremation. No, it's single. So under law, every deceased has to go into a coffin, right? Regardless. For a disposal, which is a cremation or a burial, a deceased has to be in a coffin, unless they're religious, to like a Muslim or Jewish, they get wrapped in linen and placed in the ground, but they still have to travel in a coffin.
In a coffin.
So basically with the cremation, everyone has to be in a coffin. Do you want to know what happens, like the process? So the service happens, they're cremated, and then all the coffin goes into the cremator. They've got filtration systems on them. So basically the ashes the family get are the ashes of their loved one. So for example, someone will have the name John. John is number 111. So when it's booked in, when the funeral's booked in, it's John, his full name, John Briscoe, 111. The funeral happens, the cremation happens, he's still down as John 111. So the process goes through the whole way that the ashes you get back are actually your loved ones. But see, that's what families say, they had a ring and they had a diamond ring and, it shouldn't have melted, but because the cremation gets so hot.
So if they've got gold, it goes with it.
It melts.
It gets over 1,000 degrees.
The next question was cremation with the box or without?
No, it has to go with the box.
With the box.
You just
And
mentioned it.
if the box,
God love you, Alan. You just mentioned it.
why people buy an expensive one?
That's the thing.
If
And
they got to go,
That's a
and
personal
burn-
decision. I
Yeah,
think.
but you know what it is too, and for me, and again, I'm trying not to generalise, but I know there are some cultures out there or some countries. It's like the weddings, the WOG weddings. You have, it's got to be better than everyone else.
Yes.
Oh, they had this, so I've got to have a coffin like that, or I've got to have this. There are coffins out there, we don't sell them, but there are coffins out there that are $30,000 and $40,000 that some funeral directors sell. I couldn't.
But they will not cremate anyone. On
No,
the
they still
They
cremate.
will get cremated.
They still cremate. Yep, like the coffin has to be timber to be cremated, but like even like that's an aluminium coffin, but like a timber coffin can still raise to like $15,000. And funerals are for the living; they're for the people left behind. So it helps them. They think that if they spend that kind of money and they have this beautiful lavish funeral, that it's going to make them feel better. But see, everyone's different. So,
Okay.
you know, like everyone's different.
And I like it, what you say, because I hope this discussion continue in the future
You boys will be coming back. I don't care.
and change.
We're coming back for another one soon. Because the thing is that I think it's very interesting that you're willing to talk about this.
Yes.
Because a lot of Italian people or
Okay.
European wouldn't.
I would love to talk with my friend, but someone we have talked about death, they just turn away. They don't want to
They run.
talk.
And do you think that's because they are getting older? And do you think it's because they're getting older and they're thinking, wow, okay, I'm getting older. I'm not going to be here in 50 years' time. You know, and 50 years' time is a short time. Do you think maybe that's why they're scared that they don't talk about it, because they think, I am getting older and death is coming closer to me?
I think that some of the, I can talk about the Italians. Some friends that I've got, some of them, they don't want to change.
Yeah, and see, like with me, and you know, and this is what I say to the people I work with. I say, if a family come in and they want a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory themed funeral with the coffin with all hundreds and thousands on it, and they want little people carrying the coffin, funerals are changing. That's what we can do now. I've had bands at funerals. I've had jazz bands.
Beautiful.
You know, I've had dancers. I've had grandchildren singing, and it's about what the family want. And that's what I say to the families: you have one chance to do this. Let's do it properly. Let's take our time. Let's think about it. Let's just go one step at a time.
Yeah.
And if and you know what, if it's going to take, you know, the funeral happens after Friday to a Monday, you know, because people want the funeral before the weekend. Got to be before the weekend. Let's just take the weekend. It might give you time to think of something more to say. Do something different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And this is why, with you two being your vintage in age, it's good, because hopefully people will see this and go, you know what, Mum, here are these two amazing men. They're Italian and they don't want to be buried, Mum. They want to be cremated. Yeah, what? But the thing is that it'll put the seed of thought in people's
of
head,
course.
won't it? I reckon there are many Italians out there whose children don't actually know what their mother and father want, don't know their mother and father's parents' maiden name, don't know where their parents were born because they were born in Italy.
Exactly.
Whereas by you talking to your children, they know all this, and I think it's fantastic. I want to thank you both so much for being here, and quick drink, cheers.
Cheers.
I want to thank
Cheers,
you,
cheers.
cheers, thank you.
Cheers,
All the
cheers.
best, gentlemen, take care.
for you.
Thank you.
We say in Italian la salute.
La salute.
Salute, salute. Just
Salute.
salute.
Salute, gentlemen, take care. Thank
Thank
you. You know what? How great is that to see two men from an ethnic background, new Australians, and they're thinking outside the square. So many people are so hell-bent on sticking to tradition, and here are two examples of two people who are willing to look outside that boundary. It's great. Hopefully, people watching, or some people watching, will put that seed of thought in their head that things can be done differently. I'm Matt Quoker, and this is Death Defined. Take care.